The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of Julian Cross's penthouse, each drop a percussion note in Maya Reeves's growing anxiety. She stood in his expansive living room, her reflection ghostly in the dark glass, watching the city lights blur through the storm. Behind her, she could hear him moving through the space, the soft clink of ice in glasses, the quiet confidence of a man completely at ease in his domain. 3 months. 93 days to be precise, though Maya hated that she'd been counting. 93 days of late-night phone calls that stretched until dawn. Of showing up at her studio with coffee exactly how she liked it. Of his hand at the small of her back in crowded restaurants, possessive and warm. Of stolen weekends in his penthouse where the outside world ceased to exist. 93 days of everything and nothing at all. "You're quiet tonight," Julian said, his voice low and textured like aged whiskey. She watched his reflection approach in the window, tall and broad-shouldered, moving with that predatory grace that had first caught her attention at a gallery opening where she'd been showcasing her work. Maya accepted the wine he offered, their fingers brushing, that electric contact that never failed to make her breath catch. Just thinking. Dangerous pastime. There was amusement in his tone, but also wariness. Julian Cross hadn't built a commercial real estate empire worth $500 million by missing subtle shifts in atmosphere. She turned to face him, and the look in his dark eyes made her heart stutter. 3 months, and he still looked at her like she was something precious and terrifying all at once. Like he wanted to pull her close and push her away in the same breath. Julian. She set down the wine, untouched. Her hands were shaking, and she wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing it. "What are we doing here?" Something flickered across his expression. Too quick to name, gone before she could grasp it. "Having drinks." I thought that was obvious. "Don't." The word came out sharper than she intended. "Don't deflect. Not tonight." He moved away, creating distance between them, and Maya felt the loss of his proximity like a physical ache. He stood at the window, one hand in his pocket, the other holding his glass, the picture of casual wealth and controlled power. But she'd learned to read him, had memorized the tiny tells that betrayed his inner turbulence, the slight tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Maya, 3 months, Julian. We've been doing whatever this is for 3 months." She forced herself to stay rooted in place, to not go to him the way every instinct screamed at her to do. "You call me at 2 a.m. just to hear my voice. You know how I take my coffee, what side of the bed I sleep on, the name of my childhood dog. You've met my best friend. I have a drawer at your place and a toothbrush in your bathroom. And that's not enough?" His voice had gone dangerously quiet. "I don't know what it is," she said, and hated how her voice cracked on the last word. "That's the problem. When Sophie asks about you, I don't know what to call you. When your business partner saw us at dinner last week and asked who I was, you introduced me as Maya, just Maya, not your girlfriend, not your partner, just Maya." He turned then, and the intensity in his gaze nearly undid her. Would a label change anything? Would it make this, he gestured between them, more real than it already is? Yes. The word hung in the air between them, raw and honest. Because right now I feel like I'm living in limbo, like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like at any moment you're going to realize you can have this, whatever this is, without any actual commitment. And I'm going to be left, stop. He crossed the distance between them in 3 strides, his glass abandoned on a side table. He stood close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Cedar and something darker, more complex. "You think I'm treating this casually? I think you're terrified of calling it what it is." His hands clenched at his sides, and she saw the war raging behind his eyes. Julian Cross, who commanded boardrooms and negotiated million-dollar deals without breaking a sweat, looked utterly lost. "I need to know," Maya continued, her voice softer now, almost pleading. "I need to know what we are, because I can't keep doing this halfway. I can't keep pretending I don't fall a little more in love with you every time you smile at one of my terrible jokes, or show up when I'm stressed about a deadline, or hold me like I'm the most important thing in your world. I can't keep pretending that this doesn't mean everything to me when I don't even know if it means anything to you beyond what? The question came out like gravel. You think this is casual for me? You think any of this has been casual? Then tell me. Give me words, Julian. Give me something concrete instead of these beautiful moments that disappear like smoke. I'm standing here asking you the simplest question in the world. What are we? The silence that followed felt suffocating. Rain continued its assault on the windows. Somewhere in the building, a door closed. The city hummed its endless song below them. Julian stared at her, something fierce and almost frightening building in his expression. His chest rose and fell with measured breaths, like he was physically restraining himself. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough, barely controlled. You want to know what we are? Yes, you need labels, definitions, words. I need to know where I stand. The rest of her sentence dissolved into a gasp as Julian moved. One moment there was space between them. The next, her back hit the wall beside the window with enough force to steal her breath, not painful, but deliberate, commanding. His hands came up on either side of her head, caging her in, his body a wall of heat and barely leashed power inches from hers. This, he growled, his face so close she could feel his breath on her lips. Count the shades of brown in his eyes. See the raw vulnerability beneath the intensity. This is what we are, Maya. This thing between us that terrifies me more than any business deal, any risk I've ever taken. This feeling that makes me reach for my phone at 2 a.m. just to make sure you're real. The way I can't function properly until I know you're safe. How every decision I make somehow factors in how it affects you. What you'd think. Whether it brings me closer to being worthy of you. His voice dropped even lower, intimate and devastating. You want to know what we are? We're the reason I rearranged a board meeting because it conflicted with your gallery showing. We're why I learned to make that specific coffee you like even though I don't drink it. We're why every property I look at now, I catch myself thinking about whether you'd like the light, whether the space would work for your studio. Maya's breath came in short gasps. She couldn't look away from him, couldn't move if she wanted to, didn't want to. This was Julian unleashed, all his careful control stripped away. You want a label? Fine, you're mine, I'm yours. We're together in every way that matters, and I'm sorry if I didn't gift wrap it in pretty words before now. His thumb traced her cheekbone with devastating gentleness that contrasted sharply with the intensity of his words. I don't do this, Maya. I don't let people in. I don't do relationships or commitment or any of the things that give someone the power to destroy me. But you walked into my life with your paint-stained fingers and terrible puns, and somehow convinced me that the risk might be worth it. Julian, I'm not good at this, he continued, the words tumbling out like he'd been holding them back for months. I'm not going to be the boyfriend who remembers to say the right things or makes grand romantic gestures. My last relationship ended 5 years ago, when I realized I felt nothing. No passion, no connection, just emptiness. I swore I'd never let myself be vulnerable like that again. Never give anyone access to the parts of me that could be broken. His forehead came to rest against hers, his eyes closing briefly. And then you happened. You, with your impossible optimism and your way of seeing beauty in everything. You make me want to try. And that scares the hell out of me because I don't know how to do this without the possibility of losing myself. Or worse, losing you. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. Her hands came up to rest against his chest, feeling the rapid pound of his heart beneath her palms. You're doing it right now, she whispered. Being good at this. These words, Julian, these are exactly what I needed. I don't want to hurt you, he said roughly, and I'm terrified that's exactly what I'll do, because I'm emotionally stunted and closed off and... You're here, she interrupted, her hands sliding up to frame his face, making him look at her. You're here, being vulnerable, giving me words even though it's clearly killing you. That's not emotionally stunted. That's brave. Something in his expression cracked, softened. So we're doing this? Officially? You're willing to take a chance on someone who doesn't know how to be what you deserve? I'm willing to take a chance on someone who shows up, Maya said. Someone who already acts like I matter, who just needed to say it out loud. Are you? Are you willing to try this, really try, even though it scares you? For a long moment, Julian just looked at her, and she saw the war in his eyes. Fear battling hope, self-preservation warring with possibility. Then slowly he nodded. "Yeah," he said, and the word sounded like a vow. "Yeah, I'm willing. Then we're together," Maya said softly. "Boyfriend and girlfriend, partners, whatever words make it real for you." "Girlfriend sounds terrifyingly normal," he admitted, a hint of his usual humor creeping back into his voice. "Like I'm some regular guy taking you to dinner and a movie." "You are a regular guy," she insisted. "You're just a regular guy who happens to own half the commercial real estate in Seattle. Just a small detail. Tiny." She smiled, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. "So, boyfriend, are you planning to keep me pinned against this wall all night, or—" The kiss cut off her words, soft and devastating, full of promise and apology and relief. His hand slid from the wall to cup her face with infinite gentleness, and Maya melted into him, into this moment that felt like a beginning and a homecoming all at once. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Julian rested his forehead against hers again. "I'm going to mess this up sometimes," he warned. "I'm going to close off when I should open up, default to silence when you need words." "Probably," Maya agreed. "And I'm going to push when you need space. Demand emotional conversations when you're exhausted from work." Sounds like a disaster. Sounds like we're human. She pressed a kiss to the corner of his mouth. "We'll figure it out together. That's what couples do." "Couples," he repeated, testing the word, then softer. "I like how that sounds when you say it." "Good. Because you're stuck with me now. Promise?" The vulnerability in the question broke her heart and pieced it back together. "Promise." Outside, the rain began to ease, and through the clearing clouds, Seattle's lights glowed brighter. Inside Julian's penthouse, wrapped in each other's arms with their backs against the wall where he'd finally shown her what they were, Maya Reeves and Julian Cross began their real story, messy, imperfect, and theirs. Maya woke to unfamiliar sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the scent of fresh coffee. For a disoriented moment, she couldn't place where she was. Then memory flooded back. The question, the wall, Julian's devastating honesty, "You're mine. I'm yours." She stretched in Julian's massive bed, the Egyptian cotton sheets cool against her skin, and smiled at the ceiling. They'd stayed up until nearly 3 a.m, talking in a way they never had before. Not the easy conversations about work or art or favorite books, but the hard things. His childhood in foster care, her parents' messy divorce, the walls they'd both built and why. "You're awake." Maya turned her head to find Julian leaning against the doorframe, barefoot in dark jeans and a soft gray t-shirt that should have been illegal for how it molded to his chest. He held 2 mugs of coffee, and the domestic simplicity of the image made her heart squeeze. "You let me sleep in," she observed, sitting up and accepting the mug he offered. Perfect temperature, exactly the right amount of cream. 3 months, and he'd memorized it. "You were exhausted." He sat on the edge of the bed, his free hand finding her knee through the blanket. Casual contact that felt monumental. "I thought about waking you for breakfast, but you looked too peaceful." "What time is it?" "Nearly 10. I cleared my morning." At her raised eyebrow, he added, "Conference calls can be rescheduled." This felt more important. Maya set down her mug on the nightstand and reached for him, pulling him closer. "Who are you and what have you done with Julian Cross, workaholic extraordinaire?" "Girlfriend privileges," he said, the word still slightly awkward on his tongue, but growing more natural. "I'm told I need to learn work-life balance. Is that what I am now? A life balance strategy?" His expression turned serious. "You're the life part. Everything else is just work." The words, simple and unadorned, settled into her chest like a physical weight. This was Julian without his armor, and it was terrifying and wonderful all at once. "I should probably go home," Maya said, though she made no move to leave. "I have a client presentation at 2 and I need to change. Stay." His hand tightened on her knee. "I mean for breakfast at least. I have an omelet situation happening in the kitchen. You cook? I have many hidden talents." The hint of a smile played at his lips. "Though I should warn you, my cooking skills are limited to about 5 dishes, all breakfast related." a man of mystery. But she was already throwing back the covers, stealing one of his shirts from the closet. It fell to mid-thigh, and the way his eyes darkened as he watched her made her feel powerful and desired in equal measure. The kitchen was a chef's dream of marble counters and high-end appliances that looked barely used. Julian moved through it with surprising confidence, cracking eggs with one hand while she perched on a bar stool and watched. "So," she ventured, cupping her coffee mug between both hands, "what happens now? I make you the best omelet you've ever had, you praise my culinary skills effusively, and then I drive you home to get ready for your presentation." "I meant with us." Julian paused, his back to her, shoulders tensing briefly before he forced them to relax. When he turned, his expression was carefully neutral, but she was learning to see beneath it. "What do you want to happen?" he asked. "I want to know what being your girlfriend looks like. Do we go on dates? Do I meet your friends? Your business partners?" She bit her lip. "I'm not trying to plan out our entire relationship, I want to know what normal looks like for us." He abandoned the eggs, coming around the counter to stand in front of her. His hands settled on her knees, thumbs tracing small circles through the soft cotton of his borrowed shirt. "I don't know what normal looks like," he admitted. "My last relationship was mechanical. We saw each other on scheduled days, attended required social functions together, had pleasant conversations about nothing important. It was comfortable and completely hollow. That sounds awful. It was safe." His eyes met hers. "But this, you're not safe. You're messy and complicated, and you make me feel things I spent years teaching myself not to feel." "Is that bad?" "Terrifying," he corrected. "But not bad. Never bad." He pulled her off the bar stool, into his arms, and she went willingly, pressing her face against his chest to hear his heartbeat. "What I know is this. I want to see you more, not less. I want to stop scheduling you around my work and start scheduling my work around you. I want to introduce you as my girlfriend and mean it, even though the word still feels foreign in my mouth." "We could start small," Maya suggested, pulling back to look at him. "How about an actual date? Dinner somewhere that doesn't involve takeout containers and your living room." "I like takeout containers and my living room." "So do I. But I also want to get dressed up and watch you try to be charming in public." The corner of his mouth lifted. "Try to be charming? I'm naturally charming. In a brooding, mysterious, might be a vampire kind of way. Vampires aren't charming?" "Point," she grinned. "Okay, a date. This weekend?" "Friday," he countered. "I'm not waiting until the weekend to take my girlfriend to dinner. Friday works. Should I prepare for somewhere fancy? Or let me surprise you?" He kissed her forehead, then her nose, then finally her mouth, soft and sweet. "I'm not good at romantic gestures, but I can handle dinner." "You're better at romantic gestures than you think. The coffee deliveries, the way you always text when you land if you're traveling, how you listen when I talk about color theory, even though I know you couldn't care less about the emotional resonance of cerulean blue. I care when it's you explaining it." He returned to the eggs, which had somehow not burned. "Your passion makes even paint colors interesting." "Smooth talker." "Only for you." They ate breakfast at his kitchen island, shoulders touching, trading bites of omelet and pieces of conversation. Maya told him about her presentation, a rebranding for a boutique hotel chain. Julian listened with genuine interest, asking questions that proved he'd been paying attention to her work all along. "You should pitch them on incorporating local artists," he said thoughtfully. "Each hotel could feature work from its city. It would give the brand authenticity and support art communities." Maya stared at him. "That's actually brilliant. Why are you not in marketing?" "Because buying buildings is more lucrative." But he looked pleased at her praise. "Though I'd like to see your work in more places." "You're talented, Maya. More people should know it." "Are you about to offer to buy me a gallery or something?" "Because I should warn you, I have feelings about earning things on my own merit." "I know." His hand found hers on the counter, fingers threading together. "But I can still connect you with people if you want. No strings attached, just opening doors." "Because I'm your girlfriend or because you believe in my work?" "Both," he said honestly. Is that allowed? She considered, then nodded. As long as you're not trying to save me or fix my career. I'm doing okay on my own. You're doing better than okay. You're building something real. His thumb brushed across her knuckles. I respect that. I just want to help where I can if you'll let me. I'll think about it, she promised. But right now, I really do need to go home and change. Client presentation waits for no one, not even new relationship bliss. Relationship bliss, he repeated, testing the phrase. We're in bliss? We're in something. She hopped off the bar stool, carrying their plates to the sink despite his protests. And I like it, even if we don't have a word for it yet. How about if I call it terrifying and excellent? Works for me. Julian drove her home in his sleek black Tesla, one hand on the wheel, the other resting on her thigh. A casual intimacy that felt new and significant. Maya lived in a converted warehouse in Georgetown, her loft serving double duty as living space and studio. When he pulled up outside, he made no move to let her leave. Friday, he said. 7 o'clock. Wear something you feel beautiful in. Any other instructions, Mr. Cross? Just one. He pulled her into a kiss that left her breathless. Spend the week thinking about me, because I'm going to be thinking about you. Cocky, she murmured against his lips. Confident. He kissed her once more, quick and possessive. There's a difference. Maya floated up to her loft, changed in a daze and somehow managed to nail her. Presentation, despite spending half of it thinking about the way Julian had looked at her across the breakfast table, like she was something precious he couldn't quite believe he was allowed to keep. Her phone buzzed as she was leaving the client's office. How did it go? She smiled, typing back, they loved it. Even using your local artist idea. Because it's a good idea. Because you're secretly brilliant at everything. Only secretly? Let's not inflate your ego more than necessary. Too late. My girlfriend called me brilliant. I'm insufferable now. Maya laughed out loud on the street, earning strange looks from passers-by. She didn't care. For the first time in 3 months, she knew exactly where she stood, what they were building. It was terrifying and excellent and hers. By Friday evening, Maya had changed clothes 4 times. Her loft looked like a boutique had exploded. Dresses draped across the couch, shoes scattered in pairs, jewelry options spread across her work table. Sophie, her best friend and voice of reason, sat cross-legged on the bed, wine glass in hand, offering commentary on each potential outfit. Too formal, Sophie said as Maya emerged in a black cocktail dress. Too casual, Maya tried, spinning in a floral sundress. Too, I'm not trying very hard. Sophie took a sip of wine. You want to look like you made an effort without looking like you're trying too hard. Which is, I know, an impossible standard set by the patriarchy. But here we are. Maya groaned, flopping onto the bed beside her friend. Why is this so hard? We've been seeing each other for 3 months. I've worn paint-stained jeans around him. He's seen me with charcoal smudged on my face. Why do I suddenly care about making an impression? Because this is the first official date as an official couple, Sophie said sagely. This is the date that sets the tone. Plus, you're head over heels for this guy, and it's adorable and terrifying to watch. I'm not Maya. You smiled at your phone 17 times yesterday. 17. I counted. Was it really 17? At least. Possibly more. Sophie set down her wine glass. Okay, serious talk. The green wrap dress. It's sophisticated, but not trying too hard. It looks amazing on you. And the color makes your eyes pop. Trust me. Maya eyed the dress in question. Emerald green, knee-length, with a flattering cut that hugged her curves without being too revealing. You think? I know. Go. Transform. Become the goddess you were meant to be. 20 minutes later, Maya stood in front of her full-length mirror and had to admit Sophie was right. The dress was perfect. She'd paired it with simple heels and delicate gold jewelry, her dark hair loose around her shoulders in soft waves. Natural makeup that enhanced without overwhelming. She looked like herself, just elevated. Damn, Sophie said from the doorway. Julian Cross is going to swallow his tongue. That's the goal. Where's he taking you? He wouldn't say. Just somewhere special. Mysterious billionaire is mysterious. Shocker. Sophie pulled her into a hug. Have the best time. Text me if you need a rescue. But honestly, I don't think you will. That man looks at you like you hung the moon. He looks at me like I'm a complicated puzzle he's not sure how to solve. Same thing, in Julian speak. Sophie grabbed her purse. I'm out. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, which leaves you with a lot of latitude. Alone, Maya tried not to pace. Julian would be there at 7, and it was currently 6:47, 13 minutes. She could handle 13 minutes of mounting anticipation. Her phone buzzed. Running 5 minutes early. Is that okay? Her heart did a complicated flip. Come up. I'm ready. Dangerous words. She was still smiling at his message when the knock came. Maya took a breath, checked her reflection one last time, and opened the door. Julian stood in the hallway in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. No tie, the top button of his white shirt undone. He looked unfairly handsome and slightly nervous, a combination that made her fall for him even harder. Hi, she managed. Hi. His eyes traveled over her, slow and appreciative. You look... Is that sentence going somewhere? I forgot how words work. He stepped inside, his hands immediately finding her waist. You're beautiful, Maya. You know that, right? You clean up pretty well yourself. She smoothed her hands over his lapels, feeling the expensive fabric, the solid warmth of him beneath it. Are you going to tell me where we're going? Would you believe me if I said it's a surprise? I'd believe you're being deliberately mysterious. Same thing. He pressed a kiss to her forehead. Trust me? Always. The Tesla wound through Seattle's streets as the sun began its descent, painting the sky in shades of rose and gold. Julian kept one hand on her knee, his thumb tracing absent patterns through the silk of her dress. They talked easily about her week, his latest property acquisition, a documentary they both wanted to see. You're not taking me to some exclusive restaurant where the menu is in French and the portions are microscopic, are you? Maya asked as they headed toward the waterfront. Would you hate that? I'd survive, but I'm more of a food I can identify person. Good to know. He pulled into a private marina, and Maya's eyebrows rose. Julian, trust me, he repeated, helping her from the car. The yacht was smaller than she'd expected, intimate rather than ostentatious. Maybe 40 feet long, gleaming white against the darkening water. Julian guided her aboard with a hand at the small of her back, and she gasped at what she found. The deck had been transformed into a private dining space. String lights wrapped around the rails, casting warm golden light over a table set for two. Real flowers, peonies, her favorite, served as a centerpiece. Soft music played from hidden speakers, and beyond it all, the Seattle skyline began to sparkle as twilight deepened. You did this? She whispered. I had help. He looked almost embarrassed. I called Sophie for intel on your favorite flowers, and I may have bribed the chef from that Italian place you love to cater. Maya turned to face him fully, her hands coming up to frame his face. Julian Cross, this is the most romantic thing anyone has ever done for me. It's just dinner. On a yacht. With my favorite flowers and my favorite food, and... She kissed him, pouring everything she felt into it. Thank you. We haven't even eaten yet. You might want to reserve judgment. Not possible. This is already perfect. A crew member appeared. The captain, Julian explained. And soon they were pulling away from the dock, gliding into the calm waters of Puget Sound. The city retreated behind them as they ventured into the Sound, the skyline providing a glittering backdrop. Dinner was everything Julian had promised. Rich pasta, fresh bread, a bottle of wine that probably cost more than she wanted to know. But more than the food, more than the setting, what made the evening perfect was him. Julian had always been attentive, focused, present. But tonight felt different. Tonight he was open in a way she'd never seen, talking about his childhood in foster care with an honesty that made her chest ache, telling stories about the early days of building his company, asking about her dreams and actually listening to the answers. I want my own gallery someday, Maya admitted, winemaking her brave. Not representing other artists, that's not my thing, but a space to create and display my own work. Big windows for natural light, high ceilings. Somewhere people can come and just experience art as it's meant to be experienced. Why don't you? Julian asked. You have the talent, clearly. What's stopping you? Money, space, fear of failure. She shrugged. The usual. I could help. No. She softened the word with a smile. I appreciate it, but this is something I need to do myself. When I open my gallery, I want to know I earned it. Instead of looking offended, Julian nodded slowly. I understand that. I felt the same way about my first property. I had investors lined up offering to fund it, but I scraped together the money myself, working 3 jobs, sleeping 4 hours a night, because I needed to know I could do it on my own. Exactly. She reached across the table for his hand. But I appreciate that you want to help. That means something. I'm learning, he said, threading his fingers through hers. How to support without smothering. How to be present without trying to fix everything. You're patient with me while I figure it out. We're both figuring it out. The yacht had anchored in a quiet cove, the city lights distant but still visible. Above them, stars began to emerge, competing with Seattle's ambient glow. Julian stood extending his hand. Dance with me? There's barely any room. Then we'll dance small. Maya let him pull her close, her arms wrapping around his neck as his settled at her waist. They swayed to music that was more suggestion than rhythm, pressed together from chest to thigh. She could feel his heartbeat against hers, steady and strong. Can I tell you something? Julian's voice was low, meant only for her. Anything. I'm happy. The word sounded almost surprised. Right now, with you, I'm genuinely happy in a way I haven't been in years. Maybe ever. Maya pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. Me too. I don't want to mess this up. His forehead came to rest against hers. You asked what normal looks like for us, and I think maybe it looks like this. Making time, being present, choosing each other even when it's inconvenient or scary. I can work with that. Yeah? Yeah. She kissed him, soft and slow. Though I should warn you, I'm going to expect more yacht dates. You've set a dangerous precedent. I'll see what I can do. They stayed on the water until nearly midnight, talking and dancing and stealing kisses under the stars. When they finally returned to the marina, Julian didn't immediately start the car. Instead, he turned to her, his expression serious. I know we've only been officially together for less than a week, he said carefully, but I want you to know. This isn't casual for me. What we have, what we're building, it matters. You matter. You matter to me too, Maya said softly. More than I knew was possible after 3 months. Is it crazy that I already know I'm falling for you? Her breath caught. Is it crazy that I'm pretty sure I'm already there? Julian cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs brushing her cheeks. Then we'll be crazy together. The kiss was deeper this time, more urgent, full of promise and heat and feelings too big for words. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Julian rested his forehead against hers. Come home with me? He asked. I just want more time with you. Want to wake up next to you again? Yes, Maya whispered. Always yes. They drove back to his penthouse in comfortable silence, hands linked over the center console. And when they fell asleep tangled together in his massive bed, the Seattle skyline glittering beyond the windows, Maya thought that maybe normal for them would always be a little bit extraordinary, and she was perfectly okay with that. The email arrived on Tuesday morning, innocent and terrifying in equal measure. Charity gala Friday night. Boring but mandatory. Want to be my date? Formal attire, lots of schmoozing, early escape possible if needed. Maya stared at her laptop screen, coffee cooling in her hand. A charity gala meant meeting Julian's world, his colleagues, his rivals. The Seattle elite who moved in circles so far from her own, they might as well be different planets. She called Sophie. He wants me to meet his people, Maya said without preamble. And you're panicking because these are billionaires and CEOs and people who summer as a verb. I'm a freelance graphic designer who lives in a loft with paint-stained floors. You're also his girlfriend, which means you're exactly as impressive as you need to be. Sophie's voice turned gentle. What are you really worried about? Maya sank onto her couch. That I won't fit. That they'll take one look at me and wonder what someone like Julian is doing with someone like me. That I'll embarrass him. Okay, first of all, Julian Cross is completely gone for you. Like, rearranged his entire morning schedule, gone. Rented a yacht for one dinner, gone. He's not taking you to this gala despite who you are, he's taking you because of who you are. That's very inspiring, but doesn't help me figure out what to wear. That's what emergency shopping trips are for. I'll pick you up in an hour. By Friday evening, Maya had a dress that cost more than she'd planned to spend, but made her feel like she could conquer the world. Navy blue that hugged her curves and flowed to the floor, with a neckline that was sophisticated without being too revealing. She'd had her hair and makeup done professionally, something Sophie had insisted on, and had to admit the result was worth it. Julian arrived at 7 sharp, devastating in a black tuxedo that fit him like it had been painted on. When she opened the door, he went perfectly still. "You're staring," Maya said, fighting a smile. "You're stunning." He stepped inside, his hands immediately finding her waist. "I'm going to spend the entire evening fighting the urge to skip the gala entirely and keep you all to myself." "We can't skip." "You said it's mandatory." Mandatory is a strong word. But he was already guiding her toward the door, his hand possessive at the small of her back. Though I suppose showing off my gorgeous girlfriend does have its appeals. The gala was held at the Four Seasons, in a ballroom that dripped with old money and new wealth. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light across well-dressed crowds. A string quartet played in one corner. Servers circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres that were more art than food. Maya felt her confidence waver as they entered, but Julian's hand found hers immediately, grounding her. "Breathe," he murmured against her ear. "Half these people are boring, the other half are pretentious, and none of them matter as much as they think they do." "Easy for you to say. You're one of them." "Exactly. I know their secrets." He snagged 2 champagne flutes from a passing server, handing her one. "Besides, you're the most interesting person in this room. Trust me." Before Maya could respond, a booming voice cut through the ambient noise. "Julian, finally dragged yourself to one of these things." A man in his 50s approached, silver-haired and confident, with a woman on his arm who looked like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. Julian's posture shifted subtly, not quite defensive, but more guarded. "Robert." Julian's handshake was firm but brief. "You remember my partner mentioned I'd be bringing a guest?" "Indeed." Robert's eyes slid to Maya, assessing. "And you are?" "Maya Reeves." She offered her hand, channeling every ounce of confidence Sophie had tried to instill. "It's nice to meet you, Reeves. Any relation to the Boston Reeves?" "No, just the Georgetown loft-dwelling Reeves." She smiled sweetly. "We're a much less impressive family tree." Julian's hand tightened briefly on her back. Approval or warning, she couldn't tell. But Robert laughed, genuine and surprised. "I like her," he declared to Julian. "She's got spine, different from your usual type." "I didn't realize I had a type," Julian said coolly. "Come now, that woman you brought to last year's benefit, what was her name? Victoria?" She barely spoke, just smiled and nodded all evening. "Then it's good I upgraded." Julian's tone made it clear the subject was closed. "If you'll excuse us, I see some people I need to introduce Maya to." He guided her away smoothly, but Maya could feel the tension in his shoulders. "Sorry about that," he muttered. "Robert's a good business partner, but terrible with boundaries. It's fine. Though I am curious about Victoria." Julian stopped, turning to face her fully. "She was my +1 to events like this for about 6 months 2 years ago. We had an arrangement. She got to network. I had someone presentable on my arm. It was transactional and meaningless, which should have been my first clue it wasn't what I wanted. And now I have you, which is real and terrifying and nothing like that." He brushed his thumb across her cheekbone. "You okay?" "I know this world can be overwhelming. I'm okay." And she was, surprisingly. "Though you should probably introduce me to people before more Roberts appear." The evening became a blur of names and faces. Marcus Chen, who owned a tech startup and actually seemed normal. Diane Patterson, who ran a non-profit and immediately asked about Maya's art. Jonathan and Sarah Wade, whose combined net worth could probably buy a small country, but who were genuinely kind. Maya found herself relaxing, actually enjoying herself. These people weren't all pretentious monsters. Some were interesting, some were funny, some were just regular humans who happened to have more zeros in their bank accounts. She was chatting with Diane about a potential fundraiser featuring local artists when she felt Julian's attention shift. Following his gaze, she saw a woman approaching, tall, blonde, elegant in a red dress that probably cost what Maya made in a month. "Julian?" the woman purred, her eyes sliding over Maya with barely concealed curiosity. "It's been too long, Vanessa." Julian's voice had gone flat. "I didn't realize you'd be here. Daddy's on the board. You know how it is." Vanessa's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Aren't you going to introduce me to your friend?" "Girlfriend," Julian corrected, his hand settling possessively on Maya's waist. "Maya, this is Vanessa Ashford." "Vanessa, Maya Reeves." "Girlfriend." Vanessa repeated the word like it was foreign. How unexpected. Julian doesn't usually do relationships. "People change," Maya said, keeping her voice pleasant despite the clear territorial pissing match happening. Apparently. Vanessa's attention returned to Julian. "We should catch up sometime. I'd love to hear about your latest acquisitions. Maybe lunch next week." "I don't think that's appropriate," Julian said bluntly. "Oh, come now. We're old friends. We dated for 3 months, 5 years ago. That doesn't make us friends." The words hung in the air, sharp and uncomfortable. Vanessa's smile turned brittle. "Always so charming, Julian. It's a wonder you managed to find someone willing to put up with you." Her eyes raked over Maya once more. "Though I suppose everyone has a type." "Vanessa." Julian's voice had gone dangerous. "Walk away, now, or what? You'll make a scene at a charity gala?" But she was already backing up, her mask of sophistication cracking. "Enjoy your little relationship while it lasts. Julian gets bored easily. I should know." She disappeared into the crowd, leaving tension in her wake. Maya felt Julian vibrating with barely suppressed anger beside her. "I need air," he said tightly. "Come with me?" They found a balcony overlooking the city, cool night air washing over them. Julian gripped the railing hard enough that his knuckles went white. "I'm sorry," he said finally. She had no right to say those things to you." "It's okay. It's not okay." He turned to face her, anguish clear in his expression. "She's wrong about me, Maya. I don't get bored easily. I'm not going to wake up one day and decide you're not enough. What we have, it's not like what I had with her or anyone else. I know that." Maya moved closer, her hand sliding up his chest to rest over his heart. "Julian, I'm not threatened by your exes. Annoyed by them, sure, but not threatened. Why not? Vanessa's got the pedigree, the connections, the personality of a territorial cat." Maya finished. "Julian, she's intimidated by me. That's why she acted that way. Because I'm something she never was. I'm real. What we have is real." Some of the tension bled from his shoulders. "You're too good at this." "At what?" "Seeing through people. Including me." He pulled her close, wrapping her in his arms. "I spent 5 years telling myself I was fine alone. That relationships were more trouble than they were worth. And then you walked into my life and destroyed every defense I'd built." "Good," Maya said against his chest. "Because your defenses were making you miserable." They stood like that for a long moment, wrapped in each other while the city sparkled below them. Finally, Julian pulled back enough to meet her eyes. "Want to get out of here? I've made my mandatory appearance. The rest of the night is ours." "What about the charity?" "I wrote them a check for $50,000. I think I've done my part." He pressed a kiss to her forehead. "Besides, I'd rather spend the evening with you than making small talk with people who only care about the bottom line." "Then let's go." They ended up at a late-night diner in Capitol Hill, wildly overdressed and completely at ease. Maya had kicked off her heels under the table. Julian had lost his bow tie and rolled up his sleeves. They shared a basket of fries and talked about everything except the gala. "This is more my speed," Maya admitted, stealing a fry from his plate even though she had her own. "I'm glad we left. Me too. Though I have to admit, watching you hold your own with Seattle's elite was incredibly attractive." "Yeah? You were confident without being pretentious, warm without being a pushover. You made Diane Patterson laugh 3 times. I've never seen her laugh at any of these events." His hand found hers across the table. "You fit into my world better than I expected, but you didn't lose yourself in it. That's rare. I had a good anchor. She squeezed his hand. You kept checking on me, making sure I was okay. That helped. I was terrified you'd hate it, that you'd realize what you were signing up for and decide it wasn't worth it. Julian Cross, are you fishing for reassurance? Maybe. He smiled, that rare, genuine smile that transformed his whole face. Is it working? Completely. She leaned across the table, meeting him halfway for a kiss that tasted like salt and coffee and promise. I'm not going anywhere, even if it means occasionally attending events where people judge me for not summering properly. For the record, I don't summer either. I work, and that's why we're perfect for each other. They stayed until the diner closed at 2 a.m., then drove back to his penthouse with the windows down, the night air cool and perfect. And when they fell into bed, still in their formal wear, laughing as they tried to navigate zippers and buttons, Maya thought that this messy, imperfect, real thing between them was worth every uncomfortable gala and territorial ex-girlfriend in the world. The fight started over something small. It always did. Maya was working late in her studio, deep in a design project that had eaten her entire Tuesday, when her phone buzzed with a text from Julian. Coming over. Need to see you. She smiled, typing back, Studio's a mess, but come anyway. Pizza? Perfect. Be there in 20. But when Julian arrived, he looked exhausted. Tie loosened, jacket over one arm, shadows under his eyes that spoke of too little sleep and too much stress. He kissed her hello, mechanical and distracted, then proceeded to take a call on her couch while she tried to work. The call lasted 45 minutes. Then another came, and another. By the third call, Maya had given up on her design work and was cleaning up brushes she'd been using for a personal project, trying not to feel annoyed. This was Julian's world. High-stakes deals, constant availability, the never-ending demands of building an empire. But when he hung up and immediately opened his laptop, not looking at her, something in her snapped. Julian, He didn't look up, fingers flying over keys. You said you needed to see me. I am seeing you. I'm right here. You're physically present. That's not the same thing. She set down the brush she'd been cleaning. You've been on your phone or laptop since you walked in. We haven't actually talked. I'm in the middle of a negotiation. This property deal has been in works for months, and the sellers are being difficult. He still wasn't looking at her. Can we talk later? That's what you said 3 days ago when you canceled our lunch. And what you said last week when you were 2 hours late to dinner. Now he looked up, and there was frustration in his eyes. This is my job, Maya. This is what I do. I thought you understood that. I understand you have a demanding career. What I don't understand is why you text me that you need to see me, then spend the entire visit working. She kept her voice level, not wanting this to escalate, but needing him to hear her. I'm not asking you to choose between me and your work. I'm asking for actual presence when we're together. I'm here, aren't I? I could be at the office, but I came here. Why? So you could work in my space instead of yours? The words came out sharper than she intended. Julian, if you needed to work, you should have said so. I would have understood. But don't tell me you need to see me and then ignore me. He closed his laptop with more force than necessary. Fine. I'm sorry I have responsibilities that don't revolve around you. I'm sorry that building a company requires actually working instead of just showing up and looking pretty. The silence that followed was deafening. Maya felt like she'd been slapped. Wow, she said quietly. Is that what you think I do? Show up and look pretty? That's not... Julian ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? I don't know. I'm tired. This deal is falling apart, and He stood abruptly. Maybe I should go. Come back when I can actually focus on you properly. That would be a first. Maya shot back, the hurt making her cruel. You haven't properly focused on me in 2 weeks. Not since the gala. It's like you checked that box, introduced me to your world, proved we were real, and now you're back to treating this like a low-priority item on your to-do list. That's not fair, isn't it? When's the last time we had an uninterrupted dinner? A real conversation that wasn't squeezed between your meetings? When did you last ask about my work, my projects, anything that matters to me? Julian's expression hardened. I'm doing the best I can. You knew who I was when we started this. You knew what my life was like. I knew you were busy. I didn't know you'd shut me out the second things got stressful. I'm not shutting you out. I'm trying to balance. You're trying to keep everything compartmentalized, Maya interrupted. Work over here, me over there, never letting them overlap. That's not a relationship, Julian. That's scheduling. And what do you want from me? To drop everything every time you feel neglected? To choose you over deals worth millions of dollars? His voice had risen, frustration bleeding into anger. I can't be at your beck and call, Maya. I have a company to run. I never asked to be at your beck and call. I asked for you to be present when you're with me, to not treat me like an afterthought. Her voice cracked on the last word, and she hated herself for it. I'm not one of your properties, Julian. You can't just acquire me and then put me on a shelf until it's convenient. That's not what I'm doing. Then what are you doing? Because from where I'm standing, it feels like you're already pulling away. Like the reality of being in an actual relationship is too messy or too much work or maybe I'm terrified of screwing this up. The admission burst out of him, raw and desperate. Maybe I'm trying to give you everything, but I don't know how to do that without losing myself in the process. Maybe I'm working myself to death because if I'm successful enough, accomplished enough, maybe I'll be worth the risk you're taking on me. Maya froze, the anger draining out of her as quickly as it had come. What? Julian turned away, his shoulders rigid. You want honesty? Fine. I'm scared, Maya. I'm scared that if I let myself need you as much as I want to, you'll realize I'm not worth it. That underneath all the success and the money, I'm just a kid who grew up in foster care, who built walls so high even I can't see over them anymore. So yeah, I work. I work because it's safe and quantifiable and I know how to be good at it. Unlike this, he gestured between them. Unlike us, where I'm constantly terrified I'm going to do or say the wrong thing and you're going to walk away. Julian, you want to know why I've been pulling away? Because 2 weeks ago at that gala, I looked around at all those people from my world, and I realized how different we are. You with your passion and your art and your ability to connect with people. Me with my spreadsheets and my properties and my complete inability to talk about feelings without feeling like I'm walking on glass. He finally turned to face her, and his eyes were anguished. I don't know how to be what you need, Maya. And I'm terrified that when you figure that out, this whole thing will fall apart. Maya's throat tightened. So instead of talking to me about it, you decided to prove yourself right by pushing me away? By working so much that I'd get frustrated and leave? I don't... He stopped, the realization hitting him visibly. God, that's exactly what I was doing, wasn't it? Yeah. She moved closer, slowly, like approaching a spooked animal. Julian, I don't need you to be perfect. I need you to be honest. If you're scared, tell me. If you're feeling overwhelmed, tell me. Don't shut me out and expect me to just accept that this is how it's going to be. I don't know how to do that. Be vulnerable without feeling like I'm giving you a loaded gun. Then learn. She took his hands, holding on even when he tried to pull away. We both learn, together, because I'm scared too. I'm scared that you're going to realize I'm just some artist with paint under her fingernails who doesn't fit in your world. I'm scared that one day you're going to wake up and decide this is too much work for not enough reward. That's never going to happen. You can't know that. Neither of us can. She squeezed his hands. But we can promise to be honest about our fears instead of acting them out. We can promise to talk before we pull away. We can promise to actually show up for each other. Not just physically, but emotionally. Julian pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. I'm sorry, he said against her hair. I'm sorry for the comment about showing up and looking pretty. I'm sorry for treating you like an obligation, instead of the best thing in my life. I'm sorry for being too scared to admit how much I need you. I'm sorry for not pushing back sooner, for letting resentment build instead of saying something when it first started bothering me. She pulled back to look at him. We're going to screw this up sometimes. We're both carrying baggage, but we have to actually talk about it, Julian. This silent treatment, passive-aggressive withdrawal thing, it doesn't work. I know. He cupped her face in his hands. I promise I'll try. To be present, to communicate, to not let work be an excuse for avoiding intimacy. And I promise to tell you when I'm feeling neglected instead of letting it fester. She managed a small smile. We're a mess, aren't we? A complete disaster. He kissed her softly. but I'd rather be a mess with you than perfect with anyone else." They sank onto her couch together, exhausted from the emotional whiplash. Julian pulled her against his chest, and Maya could hear his heartbeat, quick and strong and real. "Tell me about the deal," she said quietly. "The one that's falling apart. I want to know what's stressing you out. You don't have to. I want to. I want to be part of your life, Julian. All of it, not just the easy parts." So he told her about the property he'd been trying to acquire for months, how the sellers kept changing terms, how his partners were getting frustrated. Maya listened, asked questions, offered perspective from an outside view, and slowly she felt him relax against her. "Thank you," he murmured when he'd finished, "for listening, for caring about this, even though it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with me, because it matters to you." She tilted her head back to look at him. "That's how this works, right? We care about each other's worlds, even the parts we don't fully understand. When did you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You just weren't paying attention. I'm paying attention now." He kissed the top of her head. "What about you? Tell me about your projects. The hotel rebranding, how's that going?" Maya felt warmth spread through her chest. "Sit down and get comfortable. This might take a while." They stayed on her couch until nearly midnight, talking in a way they hadn't in weeks. Not just surface-level updates, but real conversation, fears and hopes, and the messy, complicated truth of trying to build a life together when neither of them was quite sure how. And when Julian finally left, with promises to actually keep their dinner date the next night, Maya felt like they'd crossed some important threshold. They'd had their first real fight. They'd said things they couldn't take back, but they'd also chosen each other on the other side of it, and that mattered more than the fight itself. True to his word, Julian showed up for dinner the next night, on time, phone silenced, laptop left at home. He brought flowers and an apology that extended from the moment she opened the door. "I've been thinking about what you said," he started as she led him into her loft, "about being present, and I realized I've been treating my relationships like my real estate deals, compartmentalized, efficient, emotionally distant. That works for business. It doesn't work for us." Maya took the flowers, wildflowers this time, not the expensive arrangements he usually brought. More personal, more thought. "I've been thinking, too, about how I withdraw when I'm hurt instead of saying something immediately. I learned that from my parents. My mom would go silent for days when my dad upset her. I swore I'd never do that, but here I am, following the same pattern." "So we're both disasters," Julian said with a slight smile. "At least we're consistent. Consistently messy." She set the flowers in a vase, then turned to face him. "I made dinner. Nothing fancy, just pasta and salad. But I wanted us to have a real evening. No distractions. It's perfect." They ate at her small dining table, the one she usually used for spreading out design proofs. Julian told her more about his foster care experience, the 6 different homes, the feeling of never quite belonging, how he'd learned early that success was the only currency that mattered. "That's why I work so much," he admitted, twirling pasta on his fork without eating it. "If I'm successful, I have value. I can't be discarded. It's illogical, I know that, but the fear is still there." "It's not illogical. It makes perfect sense given your history." Maya reached across the table for his hand. "But you need to know. Your value to me has nothing to do with your success. I fell for you because you showed up with coffee when I was stressed. Because you listen when I talk about color theory even though you clearly don't care. Because underneath all that armor, you're kind and funny and surprisingly vulnerable. Surprisingly, you hide it well." Years of practice. He finally took a bite of pasta, and his eyebrows rose. "This is really good. Don't sound so shocked. I can cook. I'm learning all kinds of things about you." After dinner, they moved to her couch. Julian pulled her against his side, and Maya rested her head on his shoulder, feeling the steady rise and fall of his breathing. "Tell me about your art," he said quietly, "not just the client work. The personal projects you do. I want to understand what drives you." So Maya told him about her series exploring urban isolation, pieces that captured the loneliness of being surrounded by people in a city. about how she used color to convey emotion, how negative space could be as important as the subject itself. Julian listened with complete attention, asking questions that proved he was genuinely trying to understand. "Can I see them?" he asked. "The personal pieces?" Maya hesitated. Her personal work was personal, vulnerable, but if they were going to do this, she needed to let him in. Yeah, okay. She led him to the corner of her loft where she kept her canvases covered with sheets. Slowly, feeling exposed, she revealed them one by one. Abstract figures in crowds, isolated by color and composition, city scenes where the architecture overwhelmed the people, a series exploring the disconnect between digital connection and real intimacy. Julian moved between them silently, studying each piece with the same intensity he probably brought to property acquisitions. But there was something else in his expression. Understanding, maybe. Recognition. "These are incredible," he said finally, stopping in front of a piece showing a figure alone in a crowded subway. "They're lonely but not hopeless, like the person is still there, still present, even in the isolation." That's exactly it. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. Most people see them as depressing. You're the first person who understood. Because I've been that figure. He turned to face her, standing in rooms full of people and feeling completely alone, going through the motions of connection without actually connecting. He crossed to her, taking her hands. "Until you make me feel less alone. You do the same for me." She smiled through threatening tears. "We're like two lonely figures who found each other in the crowd." "That's disgustingly poetic." "Shut up and kiss me." He did, soft and sweet, and full of something that felt dangerously close to love. When they pulled apart, both slightly breathless, Julian rested his forehead against hers. "I want to buy one," he said, "for my office, so when I'm drowning in work and stress, I can look at it and remember why I'm doing any of this." "I'm not selling you my art." "Why not? You sell to other clients. You're not a client. You're..." She paused, searching for the right word. "You're you. It would feel weird taking your money for something personal. Then I'll commission something new. Something just for me." Maya pulled back to study his face. "You're serious, completely. I want your art in my space. I want to support your work, even if you're too stubborn to let me fund a gallery." He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "Let me do this, Maya. Let me invest in your talent. What would you want?" "I don't know. Surprise me, just make it something that reminds me of us." "Of this." Maya felt her resistance crumbling. "Okay, but I'm not taking your money. This is a gift. Stubborn woman. You wouldn't have me any other way." The next few weeks fell into a new rhythm. Better, more balanced. Julian still worked long hours, but he made a point of being present when they were together. He'd show up at her studio on Friday afternoons, laptop left behind, ready to actually spend time together. They had standing dinner dates on Wednesdays. No cancellations allowed. He started texting her random thoughts throughout the day, not just logistics. And slowly, Maya found herself letting him deeper into her life too. She invited him to critique sessions with other artists, brought him to gallery openings where she knew people, let him see her frustrated and stressed and imperfect, not just the polished version she usually presented. "I'm working on your piece," she told him one Sunday morning as they lingered in his bed, sunlight streaming through the windows. "The commission, can I see it?" "Not yet. It's not ready." She traced patterns on his bare chest. "But I think you'll like it. I'll love it. It's yours. You don't know that. It might be terrible. Impossible." He caught her hand, bringing it to his lips. "Everything you make is beautiful because you're the one making it." Smooth talker. Only the truth. He pulled her closer, and Maya went willingly, tucking herself against his side. "I need to tell you something." The seriousness in his tone made her prop herself up on one elbow to look at him. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. I've been thinking about what you said, about learning to be vulnerable." He took a breath. "I'm in love with you. Maya, I've probably been in love with you since that first gallery opening when you explained to me why a canvas covered entirely in blue wasn't just pretentious nonsense, but actually a meditation on infinite possibility. I've just been too scared to say it. Maya's breath caught. Her heart hammered against her ribs. "Julian, you don't have to say it back," he continued quickly. "I know it's only been a few months, and we're still figuring things out. But I needed you to know. I needed to stop hiding behind work and fear and tell you the truth. You're it for me. You're the person who makes me want to be better, to try harder, to actually let someone in. And I love you for that, for all of it, for you." Maya felt tears spill over, and Julian's expression immediately shifted to concern. "Please don't cry. If this is too much, I love you too," she interrupted, the words tumbling out. "I've been in love with you since you showed up at my studio at midnight with Thai food, because I mentioned being hungry in a text. Since you sat through my friend's terrible performance art piece without complaining. Since you looked at my work and actually saw me in it." She cupped his face in her hands. "I love you, Julian Cross. All of you. Even the parts you think make you unlovable. Maya, especially those parts," she insisted, "because they're what make you human. What make you real. What make you worth loving." He kissed her then, desperate and deep, like he was trying to pour everything he felt into the connection between them. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard, tears mixing on their cheeks. "Say it again," Julian whispered. "I love you. Again. I love you. I love you. I love you." She punctuated each repetition with a kiss. "I love your terrible morning personality. I love how you organize your bookshelf by color even though that makes no practical sense. I love the way you touch me like I'm precious. I love that you're learning to let me in, even though it terrifies you." "I love your paint-stained fingers," Julian responded, capturing her hands. "I love your terrible puns. I love how you see beauty in everything. I love that you push me to be better while accepting who I am right now. I love that you're not intimidated by my world, but you're not defined by it either." They stayed tangled together for hours, trading I love yous and kisses and quiet conversation. And when Maya finally left that evening to work on his commission piece, she felt lighter than she had in years. Like some weight she'd been carrying had finally lifted. Love. Real, messy, imperfect, terrifying love. And she wouldn't trade it for anything. 2 weeks later, Maya texted Julian. "Commission is done. Want to see it?" His response was immediate. "Can you bring it to the office? I want it here. It's large. I'll need help transporting it. I'll send a car." "And help? Julian, please. I've been patient. I want to see it." Maya smiled at her phone, shaking her head. When Julian Cross decided he wanted something, he was persistent. "Fine. Give me an hour." His office building was in downtown Seattle. Sleek glass and steel, all modern lines and expensive finishes. Maya had been there once before, briefly, but never up to his actual office. The painting was carefully wrapped, carried by 2 of Julian's staff members, while Maya followed with her heart in her throat. What if he hated it? What if she'd misunderstood what he wanted? What if the elevator opened directly into his office suite? Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Minimalist furniture in shades of gray and black. Awards and photographs on the walls. Evidence of success, of deals closed, of an empire built. And Julian, standing by his desk in shirt sleeves and suspenders, looking unfairly handsome and slightly nervous. "You came," he said, as if there had been any doubt. "You were very persuasive." Maya directed the staff where to place the wrapped canvas, against the wall opposite his desk, where he'd see it whenever he looked up from work. When the staff left, closing the door behind them, Julian crossed to her immediately. His hands found her waist, familiar and grounding. "I'm nervous," he admitted. "What if I don't interpret it correctly? What if—" "Julian, breathe. It's art, not a test." She kissed him softly. "Ready?" "Ready." Maya carefully removed the wrapping, and the painting emerged, 5 feet by 4 feet, bold and intimate and everything she'd been trying to say. The composition showed 2 figures in an abstract cityscape, one in cool blues and grays, angular and rigid, the other in warm golds and soft edges. They weren't touching, not quite, but they were leaning toward each other across negative space. The city around them was dark and geometric, but where the figures existed, light bloomed. Where they almost met, Colors mixed, blue becoming teal, gold becoming amber. Connection without dissolution. Intimacy without losing identity. Julian stood completely still, staring at the painting. Maya watched his face, trying to read his reaction. Silence stretched between them, painful and endless. Finally he spoke, his voice rough. "It's us." "Yes. The blue figure. That's me." Closed off, angular, all sharp edges and control. "But with light underneath," Maya added softly. "See? Where the color's thin, there's warmth. And you..." His hand reached out, almost touching the canvas before pulling back. "You're reaching toward me. Open, warm. Everything I'm not. Everything you are," she corrected. "When you let yourself be. And look, see how we're changing each other? You're warming up. I'm becoming more defined. We're not losing ourselves. We're becoming more complete." Julian's shoulders shook slightly, and Maya realized with shock that he was crying. Silent tears tracking down his face as he stared at the painting. "Julian, I've never had anyone see me like this," he said, his voice breaking. "Really see me, not the success or the money or the image I project. Just me, broken and trying and terrified and hoping all at once." He turned to face her, tears still falling. "How did you do this? How did you capture exactly what I feel? Because I feel it too." Maya moved to him, taking his face in her hands, thumbs brushing away tears. "That's what love is, right? Seeing each other clearly, not perfectly, but completely, and choosing each other anyway." He pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. "Thank you," he whispered against her hair. "Thank you for seeing me, for believing I'm worth the effort, for creating something so beautiful out of my mess." "Our mess," she corrected. "We're in this together." They stood like that for a long time, wrapped in each other while the painting watched over them. Finally, Julian pulled back enough to look at her. "This is going to sound insane," he started. "That's never a good opening. Move in with me." Maya's breath caught. "What?" "Move in with me, into the penthouse. Bring your studio, your easels, your paint-stained furniture. Take over half my space, more than half. I don't care. I just want you there, every morning, every night. Always." "Julian, we've only been together a few months. 4 months, which I know isn't long, and I know you value your independence, your space. But Maya, I'm miserable when you're not there. The penthouse feels empty. I sleep better with you beside me. I cook better when you're making fun of my limited skills. Everything is better with you in it." He cupped her face, thumbs tracing her cheekbones. "I love you. I want to build a life with you, and I know that's terrifying and fast and possibly too much, but I can't keep pretending I'm fine with just dates and sleepovers. I want more. I want everything." Maya felt tears prick her own eyes. "My lease isn't up for 6 months. I'll buy out your lease. That's ridiculous. I don't care. I want you living with me. I want to wake up to you every day. I want to come home to you. I want to watch you paint in natural light and argue about whether to order Thai or Italian and fall asleep tangled together every single night." His voice had gone rough, desperate. "Tell me I'm not alone in this. Tell me you want that too." "I want that too," Maya whispered. "God, Julian, of course I want that. But no buts, unless they're deal-breaker buts. What about my studio? I can't afford to give it up, and I need that separate space to work. Keep it. Keep your studio. I'm not asking you to give up your independence or your career. I'm just asking you to share a home with me." He pressed his forehead to hers. "We'll figure out the logistics. We'll make it work. Just say yes." Maya's heart felt like it might burst from her chest. This was crazy. This was too fast. This was right. "Yes," she said, the word coming out on a laugh that was half sob. "Yes, I'll move in with you." Julian's face transformed, joy replacing the nervous tension. He lifted her off her feet, spinning her around in his office while she laughed and clung to his shoulders. "You're sure?" he asked when he finally set her down. "You're not going to change your mind tomorrow?" "I'm terrified, but I'm sure. Terrified and sure." That should be our relationship motto, along with messy but trying. And love conquers poor communication skills. That one needs work. But she was smiling, her arms wrapped around his neck. When do you want me to move in? Tonight? Julian, this weekend. Next week, whenever you're ready. But please tell me it soon, because now that you've said yes, waiting feels impossible. They kissed, deep and sweet and full of promise. Outside the windows, Seattle carried on, busy and indifferent to the small miracle happening in Julian Cross's office. But inside, wrapped in each other's arms with a painting documenting their journey watching over them, Maya and Julian began planning their next chapter. Messy, terrifying, perfect. Exactly as it should be. Moving day arrived on a Saturday morning, accompanied by a team of movers Julian had hired, despite Maya's protests that she could handle it herself. You have a bed frame, 3 easels, 2 bookcases, and approximately 17 million canvases, Julian pointed out, watching the movers efficiently pack her loft. This requires professionals. I don't have 17 million canvases. I've counted. It's close. Math clearly isn't your strong suit. Real estate moguls don't need math. We have people for that. Maya threw a paint-stained rag at him, which he caught with infuriating ease. The last few weeks had been a whirlwind, buying out her lease, packing, deciding what to bring and what to put in storage. Julian had insisted she bring everything, claiming the penthouse was too sterile anyway. It needs your chaos, he'd said. Your color. Your life. Now, watching her entire world get carefully boxed up, Maya felt a flutter of panic. What if this was a mistake? What if they were moving too fast? What if... Hey. Julian appeared at her side, his hand finding the small of her back. You're spiraling. I can literally feel you overthinking. What if we're rushing into this? Then we'll rush back out of it. Though I'm hoping we won't. He turned her to face him. Maya, if this doesn't work, if you hate living with me, you can move back out. I'm not trapping you. I'm just hoping you'll want to stay. I want to stay, she admitted. I'm just scared. Of what? Of losing myself. Of becoming one of those couples who disappear into each other. Of waking up one day and not recognizing who I am. Julian considered this seriously. Then we don't do that. We keep our separate spaces, our separate lives. You work at your studio most days. I work at the office. We come home to each other, but we don't lose ourselves in the process. You make it sound simple. It won't be simple. It'll probably be messy and complicated, and we'll argue about stupid things like whether to keep the thermostat at 68 or 72. He kissed her forehead. But we'll figure it out together. That's what we do. The penthouse transformation took most of the day. Maya's furniture merged with Julian's minimalism. Her colorful throw pillows on his gray couch, her artwork on his bare walls, her plants on every available surface. The second bedroom became her home studio, flooded with natural light and large enough for multiple projects. It's perfect, Maya breathed, standing in the doorway of her new space. It's yours. Julian wrapped his arms around her from behind. Paint at 2 a.m. if inspiration strikes. Make a mess. Invite other artists over. This is your space in our home. Our home. The words settled into her chest, warm and right. That night, they ordered pizza and sat on the floor of the living room, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes, eating straight from the box and talking about nothing important. It felt domestic and comfortable and utterly right. Can I tell you something? Maya asked, stealing a slice of pepperoni from Julian's side of the box. Always. I'm really happy. Like stupidly, inconveniently happy. The kind of happy that makes me want to write terrible poetry and listen to love songs unironically. Julian's smile transformed his whole face. Yeah? Yeah. She leaned over to kiss him, tasting pizza and promise. This feels right. Us, here. All of it. Even my terrible thermostat preferences. Even those. Though we're compromising at 70? Deal. The first few weeks of cohabitation were predictably rocky. Julian worked late, sometimes forgetting to text. Maya left art supplies everywhere, including one memorable incident where Julian stepped on a tube of cerulean blue in his socks. They argued about the thermostat, about whether dishes should be done immediately or left to soak, about how many throw pillows were actually necessary. Maya said 15. Julian insisted 3 was plenty. But they also learned each other's rhythms. Julian started leaving notes when he'd be late. Sweet, simple ones like, "Meeting ran over. Miss you. J." Maya created a dedicated art supply area after the paint-on-socks incident. They instituted a rule: no going to bed angry, even if it meant staying up until 3 a.m. to work through an argument. "This is harder than I expected," Maya admitted one Friday night, curled into Julian's side on the couch. They'd just had a tense discussion about her feeling suffocated when he hovered while she worked. "Harder how?" Julian's hand traced patterns on her shoulder. "I love living with you, but I'm also realizing how much I valued my independence, my space." She paused, choosing words carefully. "Sometimes I need you to not be here, and I don't know how to say that without it sounding hurtful." "It's not hurtful. It's honest." He kissed the top of her head. "I'll work at the office more. Or go to the gym. You can claim the penthouse whenever you need space. You don't have to leave your own home. It's not just my home anymore. It's ours. And part of making it ours is giving you what you need." He tilted her chin up to meet his eyes. "Tell me when you need space, Maya. I won't be offended. I'll just go do something else and be grateful I get to come home to you after." "Have I mentioned I love you?" "Not in the last hour." I was starting to worry. "I love you." She kissed him softly. "Even when you hover." "I don't hover. I admire your process. You hover, but it's cute, so I'm forgiving it." By month 2, they'd found their groove. Friday nights were designated date night. Sometimes fancy restaurants, sometimes movies on the couch. Saturday mornings, Maya worked at her studio while Julian caught up on paperwork. Sunday brunches were sacred, whether at home or out. Julian learned not to interrupt when Maya was in the zone, headphones on, paint flying. Maya learned that when Julian came home stressed, he needed quiet before conversation. They created a system. If one of them needed space, they'd say so clearly, "No hurt feelings." "You know what's weird?" Maya said one Sunday morning, making omelets while Julian read the news on his tablet. "This is the most domestic I've ever been, and I'm not freaking out about it. Because it's us domestic, not just generic domestic," Julian suggested. "We're doing it our way." "Exactly." She plated the omelets, sliding one in front of him. "My parents tried to fit into this perfect nuclear family mold and it broke them. We're just being ourselves together." Eloquent. "I'm an artist, not a poet. You're perfect. And you need to work on your flirting skills." That was cheesy. But she was smiling, and when Julian pulled her into his lap despite her protests about eating, she went willingly. This easy affection, comfortable silence, the knowledge that they were building something real. This was what made the compromise worth it. The painting Maya had created for Julian, their painting, hung in his office where he saw it every day. But on days when work felt overwhelming, when deals fell through or stress mounted, he'd stand in front of it and remember, he wasn't alone anymore. He had someone who saw him completely and chose him anyway. And Maya, working in her home studio with Julian occasionally bringing her coffee, felt the same. She'd been so afraid of losing herself in a relationship, but instead she'd found someone who encouraged her art, supported her dreams, and gave her space to be fully herself. "We're doing okay, aren't it?" she asked one night, wrapped in Julian's arms in their bed. "Better than okay." His hand traced lazy patterns on her bare shoulder. "We're doing great. Even with all the adjustments and compromises?" "Especially with those. They mean we're both trying." He pressed a kiss to her temple. "I love you, Maya Reeves. I love living with you. I love coming home to you. I love all of it. I love you too." She burrowed closer, listening to his heartbeat. "Thanks for being patient while I figured out how to do this. Thanks for being brave enough to try it with me." Outside, Seattle glittered in the darkness. Inside their shared space, his minimalism softened by her color, her chaos tempered by his order, two people who'd been lonely in crowds learned what it meant to truly come home. "So my mother is coming to visit," Maya announced one evening, her voice carefully casual in a way that immediately put Julian on alert. He looked up from his laptop. "Okay, when?" "Next weekend? That's great. I'd love to meet her. Would you, though?" Maya set down her sketchbook, fidgeting with her pencil. "Because she's a lot. And she's going to have opinions about you, about us, about everything. Julian closed his laptop, giving her his full attention. What kind of opinions? My daughter is dating a billionaire, which means he must be using her kind. Or possibly my daughter is dating a billionaire, which means she must be using him kind. My mother isn't exactly known for her faith in relationships. Maya's voice had gone tight. My parents' divorce was ugly. Really ugly. Lawyers and fights and everything becoming ammunition. She's been skeptical of every relationship I've had since. And you're worried she's going to be skeptical of me. I'm worried she's going to be awful to you. Maya met his eyes, hers anxious. Julian, she can be critical and judgmental, and she's going to ask invasive questions about your intentions and your finances, and probably your childhood trauma. Sounds delightful. I'm serious. Maya blew out a breath. I love her. But she hurt by my dad's affair, and it made her suspicious of everyone, especially successful men in relationships with younger women. You're not that much younger than me. 7 years. She'll count. She's very good at counting potential problems. Julian moved to sit beside her on the couch, taking her hands. Maya, she's your mother. I want to meet her. Even if she's difficult. You say that now. I mean it. She's important to you, which makes her important to me. He kissed her knuckles. Besides, I can handle one skeptical mother. I've negotiated with hostile CEOs. How different can it be? So different. Trust me. Linda Reeves arrived on Friday evening like a force of nature. 50s, stylish in a way that screamed effort, with Maya's eyes and a smile that didn't quite reach them. She swept into the penthouse, her gaze cataloging every detail with obvious assessment. This is nice, she said, in a tone that suggested nice was an insult. Very modern. Mom? Maya's voice held a warning. This is Julian. Julian extended his hand, channeling every ounce of charm he possessed. Mrs. Reeves, it's wonderful to finally meet you. Linda's handshake was perfunctory. Please call me Linda. Mrs. Reeves makes me sound like my mother. She turned back to survey the space. So this is where you've been living, Maya? It's very different from your loft. The loft is still my studio, Maya said quickly. This is home. Home. Linda repeated the word like she was testing it. How long have you two been together? About 5 months, Julian supplied, his hand finding the small of Maya's back, partly support, partly possession. And you're already living together. That's quick. Mom, I'm just saying, in my day, couples dated for years before making that kind of commitment. In your day, couples also stayed in miserable marriages because divorce was scandalous, Maya shot back, then immediately winced. Sorry, that was accurate, Linda finished, her smile going sharp. Fair enough. I suppose you know what you're doing. Dinner was tense. Julian had arranged for catering, a safe choice, he'd thought, eliminating the pressure of cooking. But Linda picked at her food, asking questions that felt more like depositions. So, Julian, what exactly is it you do? Commercial real estate. I acquire and develop properties. Profitable business, I imagine. It has its moments. I bet it does. Linda's eyes were calculating. Must be nice having that kind of financial security, especially when dating an artist. They're not exactly known for their income stability. Mom, Maya's cheeks had gone red. I'm just making conversation, sweetheart. You're being rude, Maya corrected. I'm being pragmatic. Someone has to ask the difficult questions. Linda turned back to Julian. What are your intentions with my daughter? Julian felt Maya tense beside him. He took a breath, choosing his words carefully. I love her. I intend to support her, challenge her, and build a life with her, however that looks. However that looks, Linda repeated. Vague. Honest, Julian corrected. We're figuring things out as we go, making it up as we go along. That's not exactly reassuring. Mom, please. No, Maya, I want to understand. You've moved in with this man after a few months. You've given up your independence. What happens when he gets bored? When the novelty of dating an artist wears off? That's not going to happen, Maya said, her voice tight. You can't know that. I thought your father would never cheat, and look how that turned out. The silence that followed was deafening. Maya's face had gone pale, her hands clenched into fists on her lap. Julian felt anger rising. not at the question, but at the casual cruelty of bringing up Maya's father. "With respect, Linda," Julian said, keeping his voice level. "I'm not Maya's father. And Maya is not you." Linda's eyebrows rose. "Excuse me? You're projecting your pain onto our relationship. I understand why. You were hurt badly. But Maya and I are not your ex-husband and his affair partner. We're two people who are trying to build something real. And when it falls apart, if it falls apart, we'll deal with it like adults. But I'm not planning on it falling apart. I'm planning on spending the rest of my life earning the trust Maya's placed in me." Pretty words. Honest words. Julian's hand found Maya's under the table, squeezing gently. "I love your daughter. She's the most talented, brave, frustrating, wonderful person I've ever met, and I'm not going anywhere." Linda studied him for a long moment, something shifting in her expression. "You really mean that?" "I really do." "Mom." Maya's voice was quiet but firm. "I know you're worried. I know Dad hurt you, and you don't want me to go through the same thing. But Julian is not Dad, and I'm not going to let fear stop me from loving someone. Even if it ends badly? Even then, because it's worth the risk." Linda's facade cracked slightly, tears gleaming in her eyes. "You're braver than I am." "No, I just have a better partner." Maya looked at Julian, love clear in her expression. "One who shows up, who does the work, who's learning to be vulnerable even though it terrifies him. Because of you," Julian added. "You make me want to be brave." Linda dabbed at her eyes with her napkin. Okay, you win. I'll try to be less skeptical." "That's all I ask," Maya said softly. The rest of the evening went smoother. Linda asked actual questions instead of conducting an interrogation. She softened when Julian told her about his childhood, clearly understanding more than she wanted to about building walls. By the time she left for her hotel, she actually hugged Julian. "Take care of her," she whispered against his shoulder. "Always," he promised. When the door closed behind Linda, Maya collapsed onto the couch. "I'm so sorry. She was awful." "She was scared," Julian corrected, sitting beside her, "and trying to protect you in the only way she knows how." "By being hostile to my boyfriend?" "By testing me. Making sure I'm serious. Making sure I won't hurt you." He pulled her against his side. "I get it, actually. If I had a daughter, I'd probably do the same thing. You handled her better than I did. I had nothing to lose. She's not my mother." He kissed the top of her head. "Though I think by the end, she was coming around." "Maybe. She's stubborn. Wonder where you get that from." Maya swatted his chest but was smiling. "Thank you. For being patient with her. For understanding where she was coming from." "Of course. She's important to you." He paused. "Though I should probably warn you. My foster mother wants to meet you." Maya sat up. "Your foster mother?" "Catherine. I lived with her from 14 to 18. She's the only mother figure I really had." Julian looked almost embarrassed. "I've told her about you. She's eager to meet the woman who's apparently made me soft." "You're not soft. I am with you." He cupped her face. "And I'm okay with that. As long as you're okay with meeting the person who taught me how to trust people. I'd love to meet her. Fair warning, she's going to be way less hostile than your mom and way more embarrassing. She has baby pictures." "Oh, this I need to see." I knew I'd regret mentioning it, but he was smiling. And when Maya kissed him, sweet and grateful, Julian thought that maybe family, chosen and biological, was worth the discomfort, worth the vulnerability, worth everything. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon while Maya was working at her studio. Julian's name flashed on her screen, but when she answered, his voice was wrong, tight and controlled in a way that set off every alarm bell. "I need to tell you something," he said without preamble. Maya immediately saved her work, giving him her full attention. "What's wrong?" "Vanessa is back." It took Maya a moment to place the name. The blonde from the charity gala. Julian's ex who'd made thinly veiled threats. "Okay, and?" "And she's caused problems. She's been spreading rumors that I'm using you for good publicity, that you're just another acquisition." He paused. "She sent an email to several of my business partners questioning your motives." Maya felt cold anger settle into her stomach. Why would she do that? Because she's vindictive and I rejected her attempts to reconnect. Because she apparently can't accept that I've moved on. Julian's frustration bled through. I'm handling it. My legal team is drafting cease and desist letters, but I wanted you to hear it from me before anyone else brought it up. What exactly is she saying? That you're a gold digger. That I'm having a midlife crisis. That our relationship is a publicity stunt to make me seem more relatable. His voice had gone bitter. Basically, she's attacking your character to get back at me. That's insane. That's Vanessa. She never could handle being told no. Maya took a breath, processing. What do you need from me? Nothing, everything, I don't know. He sounded exhausted. I just needed to tell you. To prepare you in case anyone says something. Julian, I'm not worried about what people think of me. You should be. These rumors could affect your career. Clients might think... I don't care what clients think, Maya interrupted. I care about us. And I know the truth. That we're real. That what we have matters. Some bitter ex-girlfriend spreading lies doesn't change that. You're not angry? Oh, I'm furious. But not at you. At her. Maya felt her hands clench. Though I appreciate you trying to protect me by handling it legally, rather than letting me show up at her house with my thoughts. Violence is probably not the answer. Probably not. But it's tempting. She softened her voice. Are you okay? This can't be easy for you either. I'm angry that she's dragging you into this, that my past is affecting our present. He paused. I'm sorry, Maya. You didn't sign up for this kind of drama. Actually, I kind of did. Billionaire boyfriend comes with billionaire problems. I knew that going in. Still, you deserve better than dealing with my vindictive ex. And you deserve better than dealing with her nonsense. So let's just handle it together, okay? Together, he agreed, and she could hear the relief in his voice. I'm sending the cease and desist today. If she continues, we'll explore legal options. Good. And Julian, don't let her get in your head. She's doing this to create doubt, to make you question us. Don't give her that power. I won't. I promise. But when they hung up, Maya sat in her studio feeling unsettled. Not about her relationship. She trusted Julian. Trusted them. But the idea that someone could try to poison their reputation, to turn their love into something transactional and ugly, made her skin crawl. The rumors spread faster than Maya anticipated. Within days, she'd fielded 3 awkward calls from clients asking if everything was all right in her personal life. One potential client withdrew from a project entirely, citing concerns about her situation. This is ridiculous, Sophie fumed over wine at Maya's studio that Friday. You're losing work because some jealous harpy is spreading lies? Apparently. Maya took a long drink. The worst part is, I can't even defend myself without looking defensive. If I say I'm not a gold digger, people hear, she's definitely a gold digger. What does Julian say? That his lawyers are handling it. That it'll blow over. Maya set down her glass. He's probably right. But in the meantime, my reputation is taking a hit. Can you sue her? For what? Expressing her opinion? Her emails are carefully worded to skirt defamation. Maya rubbed her temples. She's smart, I'll give her that. Knows exactly how to cause maximum damage while staying just legal enough. I hate her. Get in line. Sophie studied her friend. You're really okay? Not worried about Julian? About Julian? No, about us surviving this latest drama. Also no. Maya met her friend's eyes. I trust him, Sophie. Completely. And I know what we have is real. Some bitter ex spreading rumors doesn't change that. You're stronger than I'd be. I'd be a wreck. I'm furious, but I'm not insecure. Maya managed a small smile. Julian and I have been through enough that some external drama isn't going to break us. We're messier than that. We create our own problems just fine. That's either really healthy or really concerning. Probably both. That night, Julian came home from the office looking worn. Maya took one look at him and made an executive decision. They were ordering takeout, opening wine, and having an actual conversation. Talk to me, she said once they were settled on the couch. Chinese food containers spread across the coffee table. How bad is it, really? Julian was quiet for a moment, then sighed. 2 business partners asked for meetings to discuss concerns. Translation, they're worried about the rumors affecting our mutual ventures. What did you tell them? That my personal life is none of their business. That the rumors are false and legally actionable. That anyone who believes gossip over our actual professional track record can find new partners. Maya's eyebrows rose. You said that? More politely. But yes, he met her eyes. I'm not letting her poison my business relationships on top of trying to poison our relationship. Have you considered just talking to her? Asking her why she's doing this? No, because talking to her gives her what she wants, my attention. The cease and desist makes it clear. Back off or face legal consequences. And if she doesn't back off, then we sue for defamation and harassment. His jaw was tight. I won't let her hurt you, Maya. I won't let her turn what we have into something ugly. She can't do that. Only we can do that. Maya set down her food, taking his hands. Julian, listen to me. We're fine. Yes, this is annoying and frustrating and unfair, but we're fine. Don't let her make you paranoid or defensive or anything except who you are. I'm angry. You're allowed to be angry, but don't let anger drive your decisions. Handle this smartly, legally, properly, and then let it go. How are you so calm about this? Because I'm secure in us. Because I know you love me. Because some jealous ex making up stories literally cannot touch what we've built. She squeezed his hands. Unless we let it. Unless we start doubting each other or acting out of fear or letting her win. Julian pulled her into his lap, burying his face in her neck. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You're just now paying attention. I'm always paying attention to you. Then pay attention to this. We're going to be fine. Handle the legal stuff. Let the lawyers do their job, and trust that the people who matter know the truth. He held her tighter. I love you. I love you too. Even when you're brooding and overprotective. I'm not brooding. You're absolutely brooding. Fine, I'm brooding a little, but only because I care. I know. She kissed him softly. And I appreciate it. But I need you to trust me to handle my career, my reputation, my response to this. I'm not fragile. I'm not going to break. I know you're not. He pulled back to look at her. I hate that my past is affecting your present. Our present, she corrected. We're in this together, remember? Which means dealing with jealous exes together, even when it's annoying. It's extremely annoying. So let's be extremely annoyed together, and then move on with our lives. She smiled. Sound good? Sounds perfect. The cease and desist worked. Within a week, the rumors stopped spreading. Vanessa posted a vague apology on social media about speaking from hurt, and then disappeared from their lives entirely. Maya's clients returned. Julian's business partners backed off. Life returned to normal, or what passed for normal in their relationship. Crisis averted, Maya announced one evening, curled up in Julian's home office while he worked late. For now, Julian said, but he was smiling. Thanks for keeping me sane through it. Thanks for not turning into a controlling, paranoid mess. I was a little bit of a controlling, paranoid mess. A little bit. But you got better. She stood, moving to his chair and settling into his lap, despite his half-hearted protests about needing to work. And now we have another drama behind us. We're becoming professionals at handling chaos. We really are. His arms wrapped around her waist, though I'd prefer less chaos. Where's the fun in that? Stability, peace, boring contentment? Overrated. She kissed him. Besides, I like our version better. Messy and complicated and ours. Ours, he agreed and kissed her back. Outside his office, Seattle carried on. But inside their bubble, hard-won and carefully maintained, Maya and Julian celebrated another crisis survived, another challenge overcome. Together, always together. It happened on an ordinary Thursday, which later Maya would say was perfectly them. No grand gestures, no elaborate planning, just truth and love and terrible timing. They were arguing about groceries. I'm just saying, we don't need 3 types of olive oil, Julian said, unpacking their delivery and lining up bottles on the counter. We absolutely need 3 types. 1 for cooking, 1 for finishing, 1 for bread dipping. This is basic culinary knowledge. It's 3 bottles of the same thing. Spoken like someone who thinks oregano and basil are interchangeable. They're both green herbs. Oh my God. I'm leaving you. Over olive oil? over your complete inability to understand basic flavor profiles. But Maya was laughing, hip-checking him away from the counter so she could organize the oils properly. Julian caught her around the waist, pulling her back against his chest. You're not leaving me over olive oil. Give me one good reason why not. Because you love me. Weak argument. Because I love you. Slightly better. Because... He paused, and Maya felt him tense behind her. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. Quieter, more serious. Because I want to spend the rest of my life arguing about olive oil with you. Maya turned in his arms, meaning to make another joke, but stopped when she saw his expression. Vulnerable and terrified and full of something that made her breath catch. Julian, marry me. The words hung in the air between them, stunning in their simplicity. No ring, no grand romantic setup, just truth spoken in their kitchen on a Thursday afternoon. What? Maya's voice came out barely above a whisper. Marry me, he repeated, his hands framing her face with infinite gentleness. I know it's fast. I know we're still figuring things out. I know I'm terrible at emotions and you're stubborn and we argue about stupid things like olive oil. But Maya, I want all of it. Every argument, every compromise, every messy, complicated, beautiful moment. I want to wake up next to you for the rest of my life. I want to support your art and meet your friends and pretend to understand color theory. I want to build a home with you, not just a house, but a life. I want everything. Maya felt tears streaming down her face. You're serious. Completely serious. I've been serious since the first time you fell asleep on my couch, and I realized how empty my life was without you in it. He thumbed away her tears. I don't have a ring. I wasn't planning this. But standing here arguing about olive oil, I couldn't wait anymore. I couldn't spend another day not asking you to marry me. Julian, you can say no, he continued quickly. You can say it's too fast or you're not ready or you need time. I'll understand. I'll wait. But I needed you to know. I want forever with you. However that looks, whatever that means, I'm all in. Maya's heart felt like it might burst from her chest. You really want to marry me? Marry me specifically, not just the idea of being married? You specifically. Your paint-stained fingers and your terrible puns and the way you scrunch your nose when you're concentrating. The way you push me to be better while accepting who I am right now. The way you see me, really see me, and love me anyway. His voice cracked slightly. You're it for me, Maya. You're everything. We drive each other. Crazy, constantly. We're terrible at compromise. The worst. We're messy and complicated and still figuring each other out. Every single day. He pressed his forehead to hers. And I want to keep figuring it out with you. For the rest of my life, so will you marry me? Maya pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. You know what the craziest part is? What? I want to say yes, immediately, without hesitation. Which is insane because we've only been together 7 months and living together for 4, and we just survived your vindictive ex trying to destroy us. She laughed through her tears. But I love you, Julian Cross. I love you so much it terrifies me. And I want forever too. Is that a yes? That's a yes. She kissed him, deep and sweet and full of promise. Yes, I'll marry you. Yes to everything. The arguments and the compromise and the messiness. Yes to building a life together. Yes to you. Julian made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob or both, lifting her off her feet and spinning her around their kitchen. When he finally set her down, they were both crying and laughing and kissing all at once. We're engaged, Maya said, testing the words. Oh my God, we're engaged. We're engaged. Julian's smile was brighter than she'd ever seen it. I need to get you a ring. I don't need a ring. You're getting a ring. A proper proposal deserves a proper ring. You just proposed in our kitchen while arguing about olive oil. I think we're past proper. Fair point. He kissed her again, unable to seem to stop touching her. But I want to give you a ring. Let me do something traditional, even if we're not. Fine. But nothing ridiculous. No 5-carat monstrosity. What about a 2-carat monstrosity? Julian, I'm kidding, mostly. He pulled her close again, just holding her. I can't believe you said yes. I can't believe you asked. In the kitchen, on a Thursday. Should I have waited? Made it more romantic? No. Maya rested her head against his chest, listening to his racing heartbeat. This is perfect. This is us, unexpected and imperfect and real. I wouldn't change anything. They stood like that for a long time, wrapped in each other, processing the enormity of what they'd just decided. Finally, Maya pulled back with a thought. We should call people. Tell them. Right now? Is there a protocol for this? Do we wait? Is there an engagement announcement etiquette? I have no idea. I've never done this before. Me neither. She pulled out her phone. I'm calling Sophie. She's going to lose her mind. I should call Catherine. She's been asking about you constantly. They made their calls, giggling like teenagers as their loved ones reacted with varying degrees of shock and joy. Sophie screamed so loudly Maya had to hold the phone away from her ear. Catherine cried happy tears and demanded to meet Maya immediately. Linda, surprisingly, was thrilled, though she did make Julian promise to let her help plan the wedding. A wedding, Maya said after they'd hung up, the words sinking in. We're going to plan a wedding. We are. Julian looked slightly terrified. That's a thing people do when they get engaged. Are you freaking out? A little. You? A lot. But she was smiling. Though honestly, I don't care about the wedding. I just care about the marriage. We could elope. Don't tempt me. Sophie would murder us both. Fair point. He pulled her back into his arms, one crisis at a time. First ring, then wedding planning, then existential terror about being someone's husband. You're going to be a great husband. You can't know that. I absolutely can. You're already a great partner. Marriage is just making it official. Julian kissed her forehead. When did you get so wise? I keep asking myself the same thing. She grinned up at him. Though for the record, I'm keeping my name. Professionally, at least. I wouldn't expect anything else. And I want to keep my studio space, even after we're married. Already planned on it. And we're compromising at 70 degrees for the thermostat. Obviously, Maya laughed. Okay then, I think we're ready for marriage. You think we're ready or you know we're ready. I think we'll figure it out as we go. Like everything else. Terrifying and excellent? Exactly. They ordered takeout, again, and spent the evening talking about their future. Not in broad strokes or vague dreams, but actual concrete plans. Where they'd live, the penthouse with Maya's studio as her separate space. Whether they wanted kids, eventually maybe, probably terrifying. How they'd handle their careers, separately successful, mutually supportive. This is really happening, Maya said as they lay tangled together in bed that night, exhausted from talking and laughing and planning. This is really happening. Julian's hand found hers in the dark, threading their fingers together. Are you happy? Terrifyingly, ridiculously happy. You? Same, though I'm also completely terrified. Good. That means we're doing it right. I love you, Maya Reeves. Soon to be Maya Reeves Cross. Just Reeves professionally, but I love you too. Julian Cross. Soon to be Julian Cross can't believe I agreed to marry him. That's not going to fit on the marriage certificate. Details. They fell asleep like that. Hands linked, hearts full, future unfolding before them with all its terrifying possibility. And in the morning, when Julian woke first and spent 10 minutes just watching Maya sleep, he thought, This is what happiness looks like. Messy and imperfect and absolutely right. The ring appeared 3 days later, elegant in its simplicity. A single diamond on a platinum band that caught the light without demanding attention. Julian presented it over breakfast on Sunday, suddenly nervous in a way Maya found endearing. It's perfect, she said, slipping it on. It fit flawlessly. When did you... I might have enlisted Sophie's help. She gave me your ring size and helped me pick something you'd actually wear. You conspired with my best friend? I was motivated. Maya admired the ring, catching Julian's hand. Thank you. It's beautiful. You're beautiful. He kissed her knuckles just above the ring. My fiancé. Say it again. It sounds surreal. My fiancé. Soon-to-be wife, future source of olive oil arguments. That last one really kills the romance. You love it. I really do. Wedding planning proved to be exactly as chaotic as expected. Linda wanted a traditional church ceremony. Sophie lobbied for a destination wedding. Julian's business partners expected an elaborate gala. Catherine suggested something intimate and meaningful. "We could literally just elope," Maya said one evening, surrounded by wedding magazines she'd never asked for. "Go to City Hall, sign some papers, be done with it." Julian looked up from his laptop. "Would you be happy with that?" "Would you?" I asked first. Maya set down the magazine on flower arrangements. "Honestly, I don't care about the wedding. I care about the marriage. I'd be perfectly happy eloping and spending the money we save on a great honeymoon." "Where would you want to go?" "Italy. Greece. Somewhere with good food and better art and absolutely no cell reception." Julian closed his laptop. "Let's do it." "Do what?" "Elope. Book flights for next weekend. Get married in, I don't know, Santorini or something. Just us." "Julian, we can't. People are expecting. People can be disappointed." He crossed to sit beside her on the couch. "Maya, I don't want to spend 6 months planning a wedding to please everyone else. I want to marry you. The sooner the better. If you're okay with that." "I'm more than okay with that." She felt excitement building. "But what about our families? We'll have a reception when we get back. Dinner party, champagne, celebration. But the actual wedding? That's just for us." Maya kissed him, feeling weight lift from her shoulders. "When do we leave?" "How's Wednesday?" "Wednesday is perfect." They told their families the next day, bracing for resistance. Linda was surprisingly supportive. "Your father and I had a huge wedding, and look how that turned out. Maybe small is better." Sophie demanded copious photos and a full recreation when they returned. Catherine cried happy tears and extracted a promise for dinner immediately upon their return. By Wednesday afternoon, they were on a flight to Santorini, first-class tickets, and a small bag each. Maya watched Julian sleep beside her, his hand linked with hers even in rest, and felt profound peace. This was right. This was them. Spontaneous and unconventional and perfect. Santorini was stunning. White buildings cascading down cliffsides, impossibly blue water, sunsets that painted the sky in colors Maya wanted to capture but knew she never could. They found a small chapel overlooking the Aegean, spoke with a local officiant who specialized in intimate ceremonies, and planned everything in a day. The wedding happened on Friday at sunset. Maya wore a simple white dress she'd bought in a local boutique. Julian wore a suit, no tie, looking devastating and nervous. The officiant spoke in accented English about love and commitment and choosing each other every day. "I, Julian Cross, take you, Maya Reeves, to be my wife," Julian said, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "I promise to love you in the moments when it's easy, and especially in the moments when it's hard. I promise to support your dreams, challenge your fears, and laugh at your terrible jokes. I promise to show up, be present, and keep choosing you every single day for the rest of my life." Maya blinked back tears. "I, Maya Reeves, take you, Julian Cross, to be my husband. I promise to love all of you, the successful parts and the vulnerable parts and everything in between. I promise to push you to be better while accepting who you are right now. I promise to build a life with you that's messy and imperfect and ours. I promise to keep saying yes. Yes to olive oil arguments. Yes to compromise. Yes to forever." They exchanged simple gold bands. The officiant pronounced them married. Julian kissed her like she was air and he was drowning, and Maya kissed him back with everything she had. Husband, wife, forever. Their honeymoon was 2 weeks of perfect simplicity. They explored ruins and beaches, ate too much food, drank too much wine, and talked about everything and nothing. Maya sketched constantly, the landscapes, the architecture, Julian's profile when he thought she wasn't looking. "I want to remember all of this," she said one evening, sitting on their balcony overlooking the caldera. "We have photos. Photos aren't the same. I want to capture the feeling, the light, this moment." She looked at him over her sketchbook. Being married to you is surreal, in the best way. Still feels like I might wake up and this will all be a dream. If it's a dream, we're both having it, which either makes it real or we're both delusional. I'm going with real. Good choice. Julian moved behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and resting his chin on her shoulder. What are you drawing? The sunset. Badly. Impossible. Everything you draw is beautiful. You're biased. Completely. He kissed her temple. But I'm also right. They stayed like that until the sun disappeared entirely, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold and purple. And Maya thought, this is happiness. This is home. This is forever. Not perfect, not without challenges, but real and chosen and theirs. Maya stood in her gallery, her actual, real, finally opened gallery, putting final touches on her latest exhibition. The space was everything she'd dreamed of. High ceilings, perfect light, white walls that let the art breathe. Her art, her vision, her accomplishment. The door chimed, and Julian entered carrying 2 cups of coffee and wearing the soft smile he reserved just for her. It looks incredible, he said, handing her one of the cups. You should be proud. I am proud. She accepted the coffee, leaning into him when he wrapped an arm around her waist. Terrified but proud. The critics are going to love it. You can't know that. I absolutely can. You're brilliant, and finally the rest of the world gets to see it. Maya surveyed her exhibition, pieces exploring connection and isolation, love and vulnerability, the spaces between people and the bridges they build. In the center hung a large canvas, 2 figures, no longer separate, overlapping and intertwining while maintaining their distinct colors. Evolution of the piece she'd created for Julian's office. Growth, partnership, love. We've come a long way, she said softly. We have. Julian kissed the top of her head. From arguing about olive oil to this. We still argue about olive oil. Some things never change. Thank God. The door chimed again. Sophie and Linda arriving early, Catherine close behind, excited to see the opening. Julian's business partners filtered in, genuinely impressed by the work. Press, collectors, art lovers. The gallery filled with people, with life, with possibility. But Maya's attention kept returning to Julian, her husband, her partner, her home. He stood beside her through the opening, proud and supportive, letting her shine without needing to share the spotlight. Later, after everyone had left and they were alone in the gallery, Julian pulled her close. How does it feel? He asked. Finally having your own space? Like everything I've been working toward. She looked up at him. But you know what's funny? As much as I love this, it's not the thing I'm most proud of. No? No. She touched his face, tracing the lines she'd memorized. I'm most proud of us. Of building something real. Of learning to love someone while staying myself. Of taking the risk even though it terrified us both. Julian's expression softened. We did pretty well, didn't we? We did excellently. Considering we started as 2 lonely people who didn't know how to be vulnerable. And now? Now we're 2 less lonely people who are figuring it out together. She kissed him softly. I love you, Julian Cross. Thank you for being brave enough to ask what we were. I love you too, Maya Cross. He smiled. Though technically, you're still Maya Reeves professionally. Details. Important details. They locked up the gallery together, hands linked, walking into the Seattle night. Behind them, Maya's art documented their journey. From isolation to connection, from fear to love, from question to answer. What are we? We're everything. We're home. We're forever. And that, Maya thought as Julian pulled her close against the evening chill, was the best answer she could have hoped for.